Hi everyone, this is Tom with the LEC recap of this week. The LEC just had its first week of the Summer Split Playoffs, which means there were 3 series in the past weekend that have been played. And let's go over each of these series that has been played and highlight some interesting moments as usual. The first series was between SK Gaming and Schalke 04. And this was the first match in the lower bracket of the playoffs, meaning that a loss of either team would mean that they would be eliminated from Summer Split Championship contention, and for these teams especially also for a ticket to Worlds. Now, SK Gaming for Schalke 04 started off with an interesting draft from SK Gaming in particular. They drafted a Volibear, Lilia, Ziggs, Jinx, and a Morgana. And Schalke 04 went with a more straightforward comp, a more standard comp that we've seen in the past weeks of the regular split as well. They went with a Renekton, Hecarim, Orianna, Senna, and a Nautilus. Now, to kick off this series, SK Gaming actually tried an interesting strategy. They tried to pull off a lane swap, sending Crown Shot and Limit to the top lane, where they would be able to farm a lot easier. With Jinx, who has a lot more pushing power, she would be able to, keep hammering down in that lane and getting third plates, while Senna on Schalke 04 side in the bot lane has a lot less pushing power and could farm a lot less gold. But SK Gaming didn't execute their lane swap well at all. They started roaming back into the jungle from the early on in the game, and Schalke 04 punished that immediately, and the whole plan of SK Gaming was basically thrown overboard from there on. Throughout this game, Schalke 04 just had a much cleaner execution, and I think that's something that set the tone in the series as well, where Schalke 04 just looked like the team we expected to see and expected to show up in this series, and continue that trend of that miracle run, playing dominantly, playing coherently. They knew exactly how to stand before executing on objectives, and know how to position themselves and how to back each other up, and SK Gaming just didn't. I think in this game in particular it was most visible in the mid lane, where Zazie was just absolutely getting stomped by Abedage and was a big weak point for SK Gaming in the series. And apart from the first 5 minutes, honestly, where SK Gaming tried to execute that role swap and Schalke 04 punished it, it was not a very eventful game. Schalke 04 ended the game, I believe, in 25 minutes or something like that, making it one of the fastest games of the split. And yeah, just like that, Schalke 04 were 1-0 ahead. Then in the second game, SK Gaming tried to default back to more meta champions and did more than they did in the first game against Schalke 04. They had Crown Shot in the Ezreal, which is one of his most played and best champions, obviously. And the game was pretty close overall, but it was a bit boring as well. Team fights were messier. Game was just going back and forth, and once again for SK Gaming it was Zazie who was having a rough game in the mid lane. At 30 minutes he was sitting at 0-5, and by far the worst scoreline of any player in the team. Very shaky, definitely did not seem to be handling the pressure well, and it is his first playoff series, right? So obviously it does add that pressure. You have to imagine what his performance would have been like if the players were being played on stage. Probably would not have done him a whole lot good either, but perhaps on Schalke 04 some people would be shaky there as well. We don't know. Anyway, in the second game with Gillies and Abedage stepping up again, as they had all split. Well, all split. I'm gonna say, like, in the games where Schalke 04 was winning, it was generally Gillies and Abedage winning, and credit where credit is due. Odoamne was having a good series as well. On his Sion in game 2 in particular, it was dominance from him, like purely knowing exactly what to do. Apparently in the first game where SK Gaming tried to call the role swap, he was the one telling Schalke 04, like his teammates, exactly how to counter it, and guiding them through that phase. So props to him. And yeah, as I said, in SK Gaming, it was just very shaky, and the best example of that, of shaky team play, is actually the following clip, after which Schalke 04 managed to actually end the game.
I'm going to be so disappointed. Now, they didn't fall prey to it because Schalke initiated. There goes Gilius in with the devastating charge. Follow Dreams and follow Odo.
Yeah, Odo, Gilius, everyone charging forward. SK starting the fight, though. But that's all ultimates wasted.
They pull the trigger too early, too many times. SK, you cannot waste those abilities, but the three-man stun's fantastic.
Look at the kick.
Trick gets the kick, but where's the damage? Abba's able to escape for now. The shockwave is used as well. Neon is untouched. He's rattling off the damage. Crouch and escapes from up, and Dreams manages to land the dead charge. And that is it.
So yeah, just like that, we were already heading into the third game. Again, a strong start from Schalke this time around. Abedaga got 3 early kills with the Azir. Again, a phenomenal series from him. Have to say that SK Gaming, it felt like they were pushing back a bit with Crown Shot, obviously the designated carry for them. And they did got the first 2 Drakes in the game, but Schalke just was relentless and just struck back. They won the team fights. Insane play from Odo Amne and Abedaga again. And yeah, there was a defining fight at the Drake pit at 24 minutes, where you just could see that Schalke 04 was the strongest team. They came fully prepared, and SK Gaming wasn't. And yeah, just like that, the series ended in a 3-0 fashion. It was perhaps one of the most boring best of 5s of League of Legends I have seen recently. It wasn't eventful at all. SK Gaming didn't show up in any way whatsoever. Obviously very disappointing from them, because you know they ended tied 4th with Fnatic in the regular split on a 9-9 score. Did show a lot of promise throughout the split, but didn't show up here at all, and Schalke 04 just struck easily. And then on the second day, it was G2 versus Mad Lions. We had a rematch of the Spring Split Playoffs round 1 game, where Mad Lions actually managed to defeat G2. Obviously the first best of 5 G lost, I think, ever in a playoffs series or something like that, or like at least in years. Uncontested. And this time around though, it was a lot stronger from G2's side. They kept basically ganking mid on Humanoid, kept applying pressure on him to get caps ahead, allowing him to roam. And Mad Lions just had nothing to say in this first game. It was pretty bewildering to watch. Actually, it was just so you'd expect Mad Lions to show up, you know, and come prepared, and maybe have this advantage of, oh, the patch, the playoffs are being played on new patch, so maybe some draft advantages here. But yeah, they didn't. You know, at 15 minutes, G2 already had the second largest gold lead in an LEC game played in this entire year. So not even in the playoffs game, not even just a summer split. No, from the entire year. It was nutty. They also had 3 Drakes, so they were heading for Soul Point at 20 minutes already. And yeah, while Mad Lions did have the scaling composition, tried to reach that late game, G2 just didn't allow them to. It did look like at one point Mad Lions was getting back a bit. But yeah, it was as I think back on it, it was just so weird to see how dominant G2 was over the Mad Lions. And I don't mean that as a discredit to G2, but more you know, disappointment in Mad Lions. So yeah, that was a quick game 1 from them. Second game was an absolute bloodbath. Mad got their first blood in the mid lane, but they traded for it. And then G2 started focusing mid again. There was a messy team fight that ended with Kaiser and Mickey in a 1v1. And well, let me just show you what I mean.
But you can see the idea that Shadow had, as
he's mid again.
We said that Mickey would come mid. Oh no!
Wow, absolutely flawless read there. The Ignite now taken down. Humanoid now going to be in trouble. That's going to be 1 more kill back. Shadow going to try to throw down a bit more damage. A lot of sustained damage coming out from the Lilith. Very fast, but just going to get locked up, stunned, and knocked out. The Shenton coming in. Caps will go down in the meantime, but Yanko's another stun follow-up. Absolute, what is happening here? My God, I've seen less kills than an ARAM at this point. That's a double for the support Shen, and it's certainly looking very strong. Gonna dive him?
Oh, he had Aftershock, so I thought he would actually go for that, but wow. Okay, so...
Oh no!
Oh, Mortal Kombat, Mickey!
Oh, Kaiser,
Mickey!
what was that though?
And for a bit, you know, it looked like G2 would get the upper hand again, but Mad Lions just held on. They did do so, and it's for a while I was actually thinking, okay, from here on maybe Mad Lions can pressure G2 and get back into the game, but G2 came back with strong team coordination. It was actually pretty, like, Wunder was one of the players that stepped up massively, and I think was maybe a bit underlighted by the public in the final weeks of the regular split. But this series, he was absolutely phenomenal on Nico, especially as a champion I like to watch. It didn't look like he was doing much in the early game, but then in team fights he would nuke Mad Lions with absolutely crazy ultimates. And yeah, just through insane team play, Mad Lions were losing 5v3s because G2 was just superior in their coordination and had a 2-0 score. Then in the third game, the game started much better for Mad Lions. You could see straight out of the gate that this was a match they were playing far more comfortably. They still did try to dive caps in the mid lane, which they just should not have tried to do anymore. It wasn't successful for them, and while I get the idea behind it, you know, it's G2's strongest player, and if he gets ahead and starts to roam, you know, every other lane is in trouble. But for Mad Lions, it just didn't seem to work. The team coordination, the communication just wasn't on point enough for them to pull that off. Shadow actually did play well in this game. I think he was struggling a bit in the other games, but this game he was playing the Lilia, and he was showing everybody why people are either banning her or picking her generally, because he was absolutely the carry factor for Mad Lions in this series. He was like at 70 minutes already at 4-0, and all the Drakes were going Mad Lions' way, and a much stronger showing from them overall. And that's best illustrated by this clip.
Almost 3 points in the ultimate, and now Humanoid off to the flank. They knew the blast cone was there. Do they know Humanoid is coming? Perk's now caught out. Perk's in trouble. The chain CC is flawless. Carzzy flashing in fearlessly, running down G2. They don't have enough damage to heal. He's healing off the dragon in the meantime. Oh my god, Carzzy absolutely dominating that fight. Beautiful from Mad Lions.
This isn't to say that G2 was bad. They were playing fine. It was just Mad Lions finally showing up in a shape that we had expected them, or at least I had expected and hoped them to see in. G2 wasn't bad, Mad Lions was just a lot better. And simple as that, Mad Lions put themselves on the scoreboard and put the series at a 2-1 for G2, but they were hanging on. Then came the fourth game though, and G2 just made it clear that now this series wasn't going Mad Lions' way. There were aggressive openings from both teams again, but it was G2 getting ahead, especially Jankos on the set got 3 early kills. Mid, to their credit, didn't give in. You know, they were pushing back, getting some kills, and for example, a great team coordinated play was when Humanoid was in the bot lane, stalling and sacrificing himself, while his teammates were trying to get the Infernal Drake, and they did do that. So overall, this game was not as convincingly won by G2 as the first game was, I would say. But it was still, you could see G2 was clearly more prepared, more in sync with each other, and slowly but surely they pushed Mad out of the game. Even though the ending was quite surprising, it was a simple fact of Caps hitting a sleepy trouble bubble with on his Zoe, and just like that, Mad Lions was caught out, and G2 pounced. They struck quickly, ended the game in a pretty surprising fashion, honestly. And before we knew it, the series was over, and G2 had not only defeated Mad Lions and advanced to the upper bracket semi-final, but also secured their ticket to Worlds. Then on the third and final day of the Summer Split Playoffs Week 1, we had Rogue versus Fnatic. Rogue, the first place team at the end of the regular split and the first seed heading into the playoffs, picking Fnatic, who had looked a bit shaky, ending 4th with a 9-9 score. Now, for Rogue, there was not a whole lot on the line in this series because they had already qualified for Worlds by the virtue of being the first seed at the end of the regular split, meaning they could only drop as low as the lower bracket quarterfinals or semifinals, whatever you want to name it, and ending the 4th place. While for Fnatic, there was a lot on the line, because if they would lose, they would drop to the lower bracket and meet Schalke 04 there, which obviously a fearsome opponent. But if Rogue would win, they would qualify Mad Lions. It's a bit complicated, but if you followed this and watch the explanation on my previous preview video and recaps, then it makes a bit more sense. So the game started with Fnatic taking an early lead, and they had seemed to figure out this meta a bit. Rogue was defaulting to their regular drafts more with Larsen on an Azir, for example, and they weren't really experimenting, but Fnatic came out swinging with Inspired on the Evelynn, and in the mid lane Nemesis on a Lucian, and especially Selfmade in the early game had a very strong opening, an early lead on the Evelynn, and it looked like that was already it. But Rogue got back a bit, taking some objectives. The thing is that, as was with SK Gaming throughout their series against Schalke 04, Rogue against Fnatic just didn't look like they were communicating. They were getting caught out and just wandering off somewhere alone, and Fnatic would just grab those kills and say thank you. But yeah, and even though Rogue tried to keep going for some ganks, it was Fnatic who turned around those fights. Pretty well done by them, obviously credit to them, but I'm more disappointed by Rogue's execution of this. Fnatic acknowledging that Rogue in game 1 went for a scaling composition, kept applying the pressure, kept applying the aggression, and yeah, it was, I think, the best way to show how dominant Fnatic was just showing how game 1 ended.
With a 9,000 gold lead, Fnatic anyone would be hard pressed to say they're not going to win, because wow, okay, that was unexpected. Selfmade gets 1, he's looking for 2, the Charm's going to go out on Banda, here comes Reckless and TP coming in. Fnatic aren't going to give them their final chance. With a minute on the clock, they can look to end the game right here, right now. 3v5 in favor of Fnatic. The culling goes wide, but Rogue are forced away from their Nexus towers. And in 25 minutes, Fnatic are looking to close this one out. Finn dives onto the backline, but he is done for. Inspired, pulled back into the jaws of death.
So, Rogue, acknowledging that the Evelynn was a strong pick for Inspired, banned the Evelynn in the next game, and Inspired went over to a Karthus. Now, they still left open the Lucian in the mid lane for Nemesis, and that was actually the pain factor for Rogue in the second game. Although the game seemed to be much closer, at least in the beginning. Fnatic was bullying Finn in the top lane, and that's really where they found their win, basically, because Finn was having a horrible series, was not playing well at all, and just straight up inted a few times, to be honest. In the bot lane, however, it was Vander who tried to salvage Rogue a bit, and he had an incredible game on a Blitzcrank, landing hooks left and right. It was a pleasure to watch, honestly. Just for that, I would recommend you watch the second game. And, you know, both Hansama and Vander at 17 minutes were sitting at 2-0 score, so it felt more even. But Rogue was really indecisive. They put a lot of gold on Hansama, on the Aphelios, and which is good, you know, like that's what you should do. But they didn't do anything with it. They didn't try to find picks, they just wandered around and tried to meet Fnatic if Fnatic was up for it, and then they would be at a disadvantage because Fnatic knew exactly what they wanted to do and Rogue didn't. So yeah, Fnatic was just happily waiting, picking up Drakes, and they were scaling. They obviously they had the Ornn in the Karthus, so the late game would definitely favor them a lot. And what they did well as well was shut down Larsen. Larsen throughout the regular split had been the carry for Rogue, but as soon as he would dive in, trying to get a good Emperor's Divide on his Azir once again, they would just shut him down before he could do anything. And that was really well coordinated by them, but also from Rogue. You have to imagine why all of a sudden they couldn't make it work. We don't know, but it was a simple fact that Fnatic was too strong, and even if Rogue did get a pick, Fnatic just was better at knowing how to handle the situation. If Rogue got a pick, they would like scramble and leave some teammates alone for Fnatic to kill, and Fnatic would just happily pick up those kills as well. So yeah, game 2 was a bit closer in the beginning, but in the end went Fnatic's way pretty easily as well. Now, In game 3, this is where I got a bit frustrated with Rogue. Obviously, in game 1 and 2, you can say, okay, maybe they're a bit nervous and maybe they don't know how to approach it. But all this regular split long, people have been saying Rogue is a one-trick pony. They have one style, can do it well. And Rogue pushed back saying, we actually do know how to play more champions. We do have different things we can do. But this style, this is working for us now, so why would we change it? And you know, that seems perfectly reasonable to me. But in game 3, when you're 0-2 down, you have to do something. You have to change something, right? And Rogue just didn't. They once again went with the same strategy. They were on the blue side. They had the opening pick. You know, you could go for a power pick. You could throw your opponents off guard with something you realize is overpowered, but they don't. And what did they do? They picked Gangplank on blue 1 and for Finn in the top lane. And that's just such a wasted draft and such a wasted pick. Like, then you allow Fnatic to just say, okay, well, if you're not going for the power picks we have shown, like, we'll pick them up. And they had the Evelyn again on self-made. So yeah, it was just a dull draft from Rogue again. It's very uninspiring. They had Azir on Larsen again in the mid lane, and he hovered Akali for a while. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's see if you can actually play this highly mechanical champion as well. And they just didn't. So yeah, I don't have a lot of good words for Rogue for this series. Very disappointing. And you know, like, okay, I'll show you one more clip, which just highlighted how badly Rogue was playing this series. And it pains me to say, because I like these players and I want them to succeed. But, you know, just see it for yourself how wrong it went.
Actually try and find advantages in this game.
Also, when you consider this Kog'Maw, Kadril was talking about how the Gangplank ultimate could be pretty influential against low mobility carries like this Kog'Maw, as we do see a delayed invade. But Kog can actually really safely hit anyone he wants to once he has access to level 16. Even if a Gangplank ultimate goes down, it's almost impossible to zone that champion out of a fight come late game.
Right now, Selfmade has given up the fight over this blue buff. Hylissang just made it reset, and actually Selfmade could come around the corner here after he takes the first wolf. Here comes Hylissang as well. Inspired does have the smite. Vander here to defend. Ignite goes down onto Inspired. Selfmade gets it, and Inspired has to flash away. Now Vander caught out. He has to use the heal. And this has gone from bad to worse.
So yeah, and simple as that, Fnatic had an early lead. It seemed hopeless from the start, and it simply was. Rogue had nothing to say in this series after all. And Fnatic, honestly, I still don't know how they did it. You know, I spoke to Nemesis. No, not Nemesis. I spoke to Selfmade. And he told me, you know, okay, we figured out quickly what we want from this meta. But still, this team came together. They were coordinating well. They were playing well. The Fnatic playoff buff is a real thing. And yeah, they won 3-0 over Rogue, obviously advancing to the upper bracket semifinal where they'll meet G2. And sending Mad Lions to Schalke 04 in the lower bracket. Very strong from them. From Rogue, obviously, they are already qualified for Worlds, but coming weekend they will play the winner of Schalke 04 versus Mad Lions. And I just hope that whoever it is they play against, please win a game. Don't go 0-3 in the playoffs after you have made Worlds already. That's such an incredibly poor showing. So I really hope that they will diversify their strategy, diversify their play, and show that they can do more than what they've shown through the regular split. So that's it for the LEC recap for this week. Let me know in the comments below what you thought were interesting moments and what you thought were the interesting storylines. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also stay tuned for more content.